Lesson 7.3 is about inscribed angles. Inscribed angles. So the last lesson we talked about central angles, and remember central angles come from the center. So an inscribed angle is an angle with a vertex that's on the edge of the circle. Sometimes it says on the circle, but sometimes it's helpful to write on the edge of the circle. And the two sides of the angle are chords. Remember, a chord it's a line segment with endpoints that are on the circle. Okay. An intercepted arc is the arc that lies between the endpoints of the inscribed angle. Endpoints. So if we look over at this diagram on the left, angle ABC, this angle right here is called an inscribed angle because if you notice, the vertex over here is on the circle. It's on the edge. And then we would call the intercepted arc, that is this right here from A to C. This is considered the intercepted arc, okay? Because it's in between the endpoints of the angle. This is the intercepted arc. And this angle right here is the inscribed angle. So on your vocabulary sheet, you have inscribed angle and you have intercepted arc. You can write the definitions over there, but then also draw a picture. The other thing that we know is that the degree of the inscribed angle is equal to half the measure of its arc. So what that means is over here in our diagram, if I tell you that the angle is half of the arc, if I tell you that this angle is 30, that's half of the arc. So that means that the arc is double that, right? So the arc would be 60 degrees. So the measure of angle of ABC is half the measure of arc AC. We also have something that says if an inscribed angle intercepts a diameter, then it is a, what kind of angle? So let's talk about what that means. If we look at this and we say, this is my inscribed angle here, angle A, right? Because it's a vertex that's on the circle. Okay, we're talking about this angle here. Think about what it opens up to. It opens up to this big arc right here. Right, it opens up to this arc. And that arc just happens to be half of the circle. And half of a circle is 180 degrees. Right? So we know that this out here is 180. But we know that the angle, the inscribed angle is half of the arc. So half of 180 is 90. So that means if an inscribed angle opens up to the diameter, and we know that this is a diameter because it goes through P, then I know that this angle is a right angle. And so then the measure of angle BAC is 90 degrees. That one is kind of hard to find, so be careful of that. If the angle opens up to a diameter, then it's a right angle. Then we have some overlapping arcs here. It says if two inscribed angles intercept the same arc, the angles are what? Well, let's look at this. let's say that arc AD is 20. Okay? So arc AD is 20. And if we notice here, we can see that this angle DCA opens up to 20, right? When I say opens up, it means if I take my marker and I open it up this way and this way, I'm opening up to this 20 right here, okay? So that means that this angle is only 10 degrees because it's half of the arc. But if we look at this other angle over here, and I say that this is angle ABD, notice the ABD also opens up to the 20, right? So angle ABD also opens up to 20, so angle ABD is also 10 degrees. So what does that mean about our two inscribed angles? Yep, good. The angles are congruent, or the measures are equal. So we know that these two angles are the same because they open up to the same arc over here. So the measure of angle ABD equals the measure of angle ACD. So the important thing to remember about inscribed angles is that the angles are half of the arc, or the arc is double the angle. Okay? So let's look at a couple examples here. Example 1 says find the measure of angle WXY. Alright, so WXY is this angle here, so that means it's half of the arc it opens up to, and the arc that it opens up to is this WY, which is 62. So we're going to show our work, and we're going to say half of 62. Now you can use your calculator. Remember, half of 62 or half of something is the same thing as dividing by 2. So 62 divided by 2 is 31. And you all have your calculators at your desk, I'm sure. So this angle is 31 degrees. Alright, number 2. It gives us the angle this time, and it wants us to find the measure of the arc DGF. Well, we can see here that this angle, 113, opens up to the arc DGF. Remember, the angle is half of the arc. So that means if we want the arc, we have to double the angle. Okay, again, we're showing our work, which is going to be helpful to you as you're trying to figure this out. So double 113, 226. All right, let's look at number 3. Measure of angle PQR. If you look at angle PQR, you notice that it opens up to what? It opens up to a half of a circle, or you could see that it opens up to the diameter. And when it opens up to the diameter, that means it's opening up to 180 degrees. So half of 180 degrees, we know, is 90. So this angle is 90 degrees. Okay, try number 4. Actually, this one's a little bit tricky, so let's talk about this one. So it's asking us for the measure of arc BC. But the angle that it gave us, angle ABC, opens up to this arc, not arc BC. But if we find what this arc is, then we know that the two of these together is half of the circle, right? It's the semicircle, because there's your diameter. So if I know where that green one is, I can say that the two of them, the green one and the red arcs, together have to make 180 degrees. Okay? So if I know that this angle is 47, to get this arc, I need to double that. So 2 times 47 gives me 94 degrees. That's not our answer, though. So that means that this is 94 degrees. I'm going to call this BC over here, I'm going to call that X. And I know that 94 and X together have to give me 180 degrees. So 94 plus X equals 180. Remember, because it's half the circle. So 180 minus 94 gives you 86 degrees. All right, number 5. It's asking us for the measure of angle JKL. So it's asking us for this angle, and we know that that angle is half of whatever this arc is. But we don't know how much this arc is. They gave us 65 and 53 back here. But would you agree that an entire circle, remember all the way around the circle is 360, right? So if I take away the yellow pieces, that's going to be what's left for my green arc. So I could do 360 minus 65 minus 53, or we can set up an algebraic equation, 53 plus 65 plus x, which is our green section, equals 360 degrees. Okay, take a minute and solve that. All right, we're getting that this arc for x is 242. Oops. So that means the arc is 242, but that's not our angle, right? Our arc is 242, and then we know that the angle is half of the arc. So half of 242 gives me 121 degrees. All right, why don't you try number 6 on your own? It's similar to number 5. Think about what you need. If it's asking for angle RST, that's this angle right here, and RST opens up to RT, but we don't know RT. Think about how we can find RT. We know that all 4 of those arcs have to add up to be 360 degrees. So I know that the remaining amount is 82. So this is 82 degrees over here. But that's not the number of our angle, right? Remember, the amount of our angle is half of the arc. So if this arc is 82, then half of that is going to be my angle for RST. And then if I'm looking to find angle RUT, that also opens up to the 82, right? So that means that these two angles right here, RST and RUT, are congruent. So RUT is also 41 degrees. Let's look at a couple more examples. If we look at number 7 here, it says solve for x. So we know that this angle is represented by 8x minus 9. And the angle does not equal 158. Remember, it equals half of 158. So there's a couple ways you can do this. What is half of 158? Look at your calculator. Okay, we know that's 76. I'm just kidding. 79. Okay, so if we do this, we know that this angle is really 79. So I could say 8x minus 9 equals 79. Another way we could have done this one is to say if we double this angle, 8x minus 9, we should get 158. So if you do 2 times 8x minus 9, you should get 158. Either way that you do this is acceptable. I don't care which one you do, which way you do it. Just make sure that you are doing it one of those ways. Okay, so if we go ahead and add 9 over here, we get 8x equals 88, so x is 11. Okay. All right, let's turn over the page and let's look at example 9. Example 8 is very much the same as example 9, so, I'm sorry, 8 is the same as 7. So we're going to go ahead and look at the next page and look at example 9. Okay, on example 9, we know that we have 13x minus 1. It's asking us to solve for x. That is this angle here. And we know that this angle opens up to the diameter. And we said anytime it opens up to the diameter, what kind of an angle is this? It's a right angle. So you have 13x minus 1 equals 90. All right, 13x equals 91. So x is 7. Let's talk about number 10. Wants us to find x, which is this angle here, and that opens up to arc xy. The problem is, I don't know anything about arc xy. I know I have 78 over here. Can I figure out how much this is right here? Well, let's think about it. If we look at this angle that's 114, doesn't 114 open up to all of this over here? Right, so that's double 114. If we double that, we get the green part. So if we double 114, that's 228 that's out here. So if I have 228, and I know that this is 78 over here, I can figure out how much is left for this blue arc from x to y. So if I do 360 minus 78, minus 228. So when we subtract those from 360, we get 54 over here for arc xy. Now, 7x plus 6 doesn't equal 54. Remember, it's half of that. So if we find half of 54, 54 divided by 2 gives us 27. So 7x plus 6 equals 27. So sometimes you're going to have to do a little bit of work ahead of time to get to where you need to get. Our x value is 3. Let's look at number 12. On number 12, we've used up 120. Okay, we could figure out how much is being used for arc QS because this angle is 67. Remember, we double it to get the arc, so 67 times 2. This arc right here is 134. So I've covered most of the circle. If I subtract 120 and 134 from 360, I will get what is left for RS. So if we do 360 minus 134 minus 120, getting 106 degrees for over here. Now because we're already talking about the arc, the 5x plus 21 represents the arc. I don't need to take half of 106. I need to use 106 exactly. So 5x plus 21 equals 106. Subtract 21 gives you 85. Divide by 5 and we get 17. Let's look at number 14. So it says measure of angle STU. STU is 5x minus 16. That's how much the angle is. And then the arc SU is 12x minus 50. And it's asking us to find measure of angle STU. Well, again, we know that the arc is double whatever the angle is. So if we double the angle, I'll get the arc. Now, you can take half of the arc if you wanted to, but if it's an odd number, you're going to have decimals. Like if you had 7 and you're trying to take half of 7, you're going to get 3.5. So sometimes it's easier to just double the angle. Okay, so 2 times 5x minus 16, or doubling the angle, equals 12x minus 50. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and solve it up here. You solve it on your paper, please. All right, I'm getting x to be 9, but then they want us to find measure of angle STU. So if they want us to find measure of angle STU, remember I have to plug back in to angle STU. So measure of angle STU is 5x minus 16, 5 times 9 minus 16. And the measure of angle STU is 29 degrees. All right, we're going to set up 15, but we're not going to solve it. Okay, so if I look at 15, let's go ahead and label our diagram. It says measure of angle ABD is 6x plus 26. So if you have a hard time getting your pencil inside to write small enough, you guys can draw an arrow like this that says that this is 6x plus 26. That will work just fine. And then it says angle, that was angle ABD. Then it says angle ACD. And you guys are welcome to use colored pencils, you know where they are. ACD is represented by 13x minus 9. Now, if I look at these two angles, I know that they both are opening up to arc AD. So if they open up to the same arc, remember the rule is that the two angles are congruent. So I can set up 6x plus 26 equals the 13x minus 9. Okay? And I know you guys know how to solve it, so we're going to pause for there. And let's look at our final example, number 16. 16 says measure of angle KJL is 3x plus 2. So KJL is this angle here, 3x plus 2. And KLJ, this angle KLJ, is 7x minus 32. Oops. Find measure of arc KL. So I want you to find KL. Interesting. All right, well, we don't know about what these two angles open up to. We do know that arc KL is going to come from angle KJL, but we don't know how much that is. But remember that one of these angles, JKL, is opening up to the diameter. You guys see that? And so if it's opening up to the diameter, it is a 90-degree angle. Okay, so that now we have a triangle, and we know that all angles in a triangle add up to be 180. So if I have 3x plus 2 plus 7x minus 32 plus 90 has to give me 180 degrees. All right, take a minute and go ahead and solve that. So I'm getting x to be 12. But if I want the measure of arc KL, the measure of arc KL right here is going to be double whatever this angle is right here. So if I plug in my x to that angle, 3 times 12 plus 2, 36 plus 2 is 38 degrees. That's how much my angle is. My angle is 38. Okay. But I have to double that to get the arc. So 2 times 38, do that, times 2, gives me 76. So put your label on at the end. The measure of arc KL is 76 degrees. All right. And so your homework here, homework 43, is your first assignment. And it says the giant circle challenge. So what I would encourage you to do first is to start maybe labeling things, and they get you started down here where it says given. So make sure you label all the things that are given, and don't forget where you have a 90-degree angle. I'll help you find those 90 degrees. 8 and 7 together open up. If you notice 8 and 7 together, see how they open up to the diameter? So 8 and 7 together make 90 degrees. So there's one 90-degree angle. And then angle 2 up here by itself opens up to the diameter, and so angle 2 by itself is 90 degrees. So that will help you, as well as what's given down here. Go through, I was able to go start at angle 1 and go through all the way to 21. I had to skip over 7 and 8 and come back to them at the end. So I was able to go through and do them all in order, except for 7 and 8 I skipped over, and then I came back to them at the end, okay? So you need to do this homework page, and then you also need to do homework 44, 1 through 12 all, okay?